The IBU World Cup resumes with a doubleheader here in Germany. We're back at the iconic Rennsteig Arena, planted 827 metres above sea level, a centre for winter sport. 53,000 fans flocked here for the World Cup last January, and we expect a huge home crowd over the next 4 days once again, with the German team flying. You wouldn't be surprised if we witness the succession of Denise Hermann-Wick as the last German to win here during the sprint contested at the World Championships in 2023. Alongside myself, Ellen Ellard, is former Team USA biathlete Chad Salmler. And Chad, we're just watching the athletes prepare at the moment. I'm sure we'll get a shot of the stadium shortly, but it is classic Oberhof conditions.
Yeah, from rain in Le Grand Bernin to rain in Oberhof. You don't expect it in Le Grand Bernin, but you do expect it in Oberhof. The great thing about the conditions, even though they're getting pretty well drowned by the constant downpour out on the course, the fog has actually stayed off the shooting range, and that's always the issue, is fog or wind. If you have wind in Oberhof, you usually have one or the other. The great thing is the fog is right there, but it's just above the trees, and it has not descended on the shooting range, making it a very fair competition so far. But if you don't like the weather in Oberhof, wait a second, it'll change.
We just saw some shots of Franziska Plois warming up. She's never won here, but she is in incredible form so far this season. The queen of consistency hasn't finished lower in individual competitions than 5th, and 2 of her 3 career individual wins have come this season, and you really wouldn't bet against her as things stand. Chad, let's talk through some of the headlines, and we'll start with the bad news, and that is that Lisa Vitozzi won't compete this season. She said in an agreement with the technical and medical staff of the biathlon team, when she resumed training with greater intensity, she was unable to support the workloads. So they therefore decided not to force a return in order to avoid further risks and not to compromise, which is the key point, the next few months of training. She says the real objective is the 2026 Milan Cortina Olympic Games. And Chad, I think everyone would agree that that has to be the right choice.
Absolutely. You can't compete without your core being strong. Every movement in the sport depends on that lower back that is not working for Lisa Vitozzi. They've tried everything they can. At this point, you risk further damage, and I think it's a smart move by Vitozzi. Even though it's a hard pill to swallow for fans of the sport, because anytime you lose your champion from last season, it hurts the sport a little bit. So, but we wish her well.
Yeah, you can see a clear indication of the weather there, not just on the graphics, but of course in the background as well. Plenty of rain coming down, an air temperature of 5 degrees Celsius. The good news is, though, Chad, Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold is back after heart surgery to correct a rhythm disorder, and she's been speaking to the media ahead of the races here in Oberhof, saying it's important to be aware of how we refer to different heart conditions, and trying to really drive people away from drawing too many similarities between the kind of rhythm disorders that she's been suffering from and serious diagnoses like heart attacks or atrial fibrillations. And I think it's an important point to make as well. She's back racing today. She says her rhythm disorder is unpleasant but certainly not dangerous, and it's something that she experienced at the last Winter Olympics as well. But she is back, and I think that's the main good news.
Yeah, I think anytime a major sports figure in any country is in the headlines and you see heart surgery, I think people jump to conclusions in their mind. I think that it all comes down to, is she cleared by a doctor? And if the doctors clear her to compete, that's good enough. That's got to be good enough for the rest of us. And I think that I think it's going to be tough for Tandevold with the time she's had off to come in and expect to be right at the top of the order. But I would expect her in a few races, maybe even within this week in Oberhof, she should be back to her normal self, if not by the next World Cup week in Ruhpolding.
Yeah, absolutely. My mind initially went to Mazrari, one of the defenders at Manchester United, who had a similar corrective surgery recently and then was back on the bench just a couple of weeks later. And I think it is worth highlighting the fact that it is common for athletes to go in for corrective surgeries, and it is great to have her back today. Someone else that's back as well, as we flick through the start order for this women's 7.5 kilometres sprint is Hannah Erberg. But Chad, maybe a slight hesitancy that we'll see a similar situation to that when we saw Talia Bow return to, such an amazing return in Annecy just before the Christmas break.
Yeah, I don't think they're quite analogous in circumstances. Hannah Oberg came into Kontiolahti, didn't look like she had the power on the ski course that she's normally having, and in fact, statistically, it shows that she's 2% slower than last year, 3% slower than 2 seasons ago. So, Talia Bow his issue was he was the slowest guy on a fast team. So, I think Hannah Oberg is the fact that she's back is hopeful that maybe she's finding that form, but so far that form has been elusive to her, whereas Talia Bow just had a little bit of a rest and took the win in Le Grand Bernard. I would chalk that up more to rest than a downtrend in his skiing.
Yeah, talking of rest as well, we have Uniana Clive, the Norwegian. She's back wearing bib 72 today. As we see Nadia Moser, the Canadian, trying to keep herself warm. She'll be the athlete wearing bib number 1 and first to get us underway as they tackle 3 lots of 2.5 kilometre laps for the first of our racing in the new year 2025. And tough conditions, but as always, a very loud home crowd here in Oberhof, and that is the woman that they're looking forward to seeing. And
expect that crowd to swell on the weekend. Oberhof is in a somewhat secluded area on the top of Thüringer Wald, which is kind of the former East Germany. This venue is steeped in history, primarily going back to the East German sports system, where this was the primary WinterSports center for developing Olympic athletes, and have a lot of great pedigree and history from this venue, going back Andrea Henkel Burke, who now lives in the United States with Tim Burke, former American biathlete, or even further back, you can go back to Frank Peter Roche and the Birk Anders and Andre Semisch, all athletes from the 80s who competed here. As this, and then after the wall came down and Germany reunited, this became one of the major biathlon spots. This next 3 weekends, Oberhof, Ruhpolding, and Antolz are really kind of the marquee center events of the winter.
Yeah, and the German team absolutely flying. The mass start here at Le Grand Bonnard, double joy for Germany. It was Selina Glottian who took the win from maybe Franziska Preuss, who I think it's fair to say wasn't at her skiing best on the day. We knew that there was a lot of illness within the German camp in that last race week before the Christmas break. And from what we've seen in Ziering and her warming up, she does look back to her best. But we're ready to get underway here in Oberhof, the first race of 2025. And it's Nadia Moser who pushes away first in the women's 7.5 kilometre sprint.
Moser, 82% shooter this season, stronger in the prone, 87%. Anytime you're approaching 90 in either of the disciplines, that's pretty high level shooting. As we look now to Milena Todorova. Todorova has a World Cup best of 8th, but this season, not quite at that level. She did that in 2021 in Östersund, trying to get her best of the season here in this sprint in Oberhof.
Yeah, she made the mass start in Annecy as a reserve, finishing 26 with 5 penalties on the day.
Yeah, she's currently ranked 23rd in the sprint, so in the top 30 overall in the sprints, it's always a good sign that you have a shot at a podium.
Tomingas of Estonia. Her career best finish was actually here in the World Championships in 2023. She was 6th in the individual competition.
Has 2 6th-place finishes in her career. The other one came at Soldier Hollow last year in the pursuit. I remember that. And she's kind of made the rounds of the summer roller ski festivals last year. Kind of made hay that end of last season. She was very strong, and she got a lot of invitations to the summer festivals. But this is a noteworthy start.
Absolutely, and Chad, this is one I know that you've been very excited about, because Mina, so well decorated, and initially announced her retirement. What was it, back in 2019? This is her first World Cup race since sprint in Soldier Hollow, where she finished 85th, the oldest in the field, but always exciting to watch.
I think what's exciting about this is the fact that she came off of she started the season very slow in Yalo. She was 54th and 67th in Yalo IBU Cup, but then came back in Obertiliac before the holiday break and finished 10th and 12th. It's not so much just what she can do, but she brings a lot of punch. If you remember, Fialkova Batovska got a podium. Slovakia can actually threaten in a relay.
Yeah, absolutely. A 2-time Olympic champion in the sprint. And yeah, it's so exciting to see her back, and we look forward to seeing what she can do.
Yeah, and as exciting as it is, she is human. She's 40 years of age. She's coming back from a break in the sport, having children, and but the fact of the matter is the raw material's there, and you can see Kuzmina as the cameras follow her out on the course. When you're defending two-time Olympic champion in the sprint, you're going to make waves when your fitness starts to come around, and it's interesting to see how this first couple kilometers will go before the first shooting stage for Kuzmina.
Yeah, it was Kamila Zuk of Poland, the 27-year-old, who is following her out.
Zuk herself has a personal best of 6th place, so can threaten on any given day. I think the great thing about these biathlon races is that everybody has a high water mark, and that high water mark, if it strikes on any given day, can challenge at the top of the field, and I think that's what makes the sport so compelling.
Yeah, you can see the ponchos lining the sides of the advertising hoardings on the circuit. It is incredibly damp conditions. The rain continuing to fall, but not dampening the spirits of those who are out. The first of 4 days of racing. Lucy Shvatova,
31 years of age. She's currently ranked 43rd in the sprint standing this season. But she also has a podium to her credit. Finished 3rd in the World Championships in this discipline back in 2020 in Antolz.
Yeah, what a place to do it. Just one top 20 this season so far. That was 19th in the sprint in Annecy. Darcy Morton, the only Australian currently on the World Cup circuit. Her birthday on Christmas Eve.
Morton, a family of biathletes in Australia, kind of the second generation of World Cup athletes for Australia from that family.
He was competing in Kontiolahti and Hochfilzen on the World Cup, dropping down to the IBU Cup to compete in the single mixed relay.
Haven't seen a lot of this athlete. Sanita Bulina, 23 years of age. Getting her experience.
Yeah, only one top 30 finish in her career, but she did really step it up at Le Grand Bonnat from, in comparison to the first 2 races of the season, 35th in the pursuit after finishing 37th in the sprint.
Yeah, the top 40 is kind of for an athlete like Bulina, top 40 is kind of the goal, to get some points and get your name on the board for their overall World Cup standings. And anytime you're in the top 40, that gets you up there and makes the world know that you're one of the top biathletes in the world.
Yeah, quick look at Lena Haki-Gloss, who's wearing bib number 20. This is Anna-Karin Heidenberg. The NS in the sprint in Annecy, just her 11th World Cup start, the 24-year-old.
Yeah, she kind of burst on the Swedish scene 2 Decembers ago, where she was kind of just coming out of the juniors. Nobody really knew anything about her. They went to the trials race. She won the very first trials race and kind of shocked all of Sweden, kind of shocked anybody who follows Swedish biathlon. But she has slowly crept her way into the consciousness and to the top of the field, and having the best season so far of her young career.
Well, it was a tough first trimester for the Austrian team, wasn't it, Chad? What do you think that their goals are for this second part of the season?
Well, they've given a couple of IBU Cup athletes a chance to start here, and this is number 13, Anna Juppe of Austria. But I think the biggest problem they were having is the Austrians are having trouble finding the speed on the actual ski preparation, and I think if they can fix that, they'll do better in this next trimester.
Yeah, Anna Juppe, first World Cup race of the season. Alina Strolemos.
Strolemos had a solid period 1. Currently sitting 33rd overall in the World Cup standings. Racing for the sole Moldovan out there. Has a personal best of 9th. There's you see Ingrid Landmark-Tannervold. Norwegian fans are going to love to see her back.
Aita Gaspelan. Her personal best finish was 8th in Soldier Hollow at the end of last season. Won't be long until we see Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold take to the circuit wearing bib 23, and in an exciting group that's going out within 2 minutes of each other. Bib 22 down to 24, all worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, Gasparand sort of signals in the first seeded starting group. This is Natalia Sidorovic. Remember, she was 4th in Kontiolahti, and Sidorovic signals the 15 ranked 16 through 30 in the overall World Cup will go every minute with a unseeded skier between them. So this is the first seeded skier on course from the blue group, starting 16 through 30 in the overall World Cup rankings.
And we have our first athlete into shooting one. It is bib number 2, Milena Todorova, dropping down into the prone position. Just 2 shooting stages in this 7.5 kilometer sprint.
You can see she's way up on Nadia Moser of Canada, but that's the only person she's got a time check. On the graphic on the bottom, the minus 21.3, that's compared to the Canadian. So Todorova really racing the people behind her. But great shooting so far by Todorova. You see the wind graphic? There is wind, but it's coming straight from behind them.
Clean in the prone position. Best finish so far this season was 10th in the sprint in Hopfields, and she shot clean that day as well.
Well, the camera lens tells the story on the weather. Windy and rainy in Oberhof, no big surprise there. Todorova leads at 8:07.4. There's nobody to compare to because nobody else has come through that time check but her so far. And now Anastasia Kuzminak coming in 5.1 seconds faster than Todorova.
Yeah, so far out of the 4 athletes coming into shooting one, she's setting the early pace.
You see the wind flag right in front of her, almost straight left, her left to right. And you can see that wind changing. Seems to have a good 0 on that wind direction. And now that wind changes a little bit and comes right behind her. And that causes a miss. You can see that swirling wind. Right when the wind swirled, she had a miss. That is probably just the wind.
Lena Hackfrost wearing bib number 20, about to push away.
So we want to watch that graphic on the lower left in Oberhof. What happens is in the prone position specifically, they only shoot once, so they can't adjust for it, but it will cost Kuzmina a trip around the penalty loop. But the wind is strong here, and the air is heavy. It's 100% humidity. So that means there's a lot of force when that wind comes on that trajectory of that bullet. And the direction and the force of that wind matters. And you can see Sook kind of left wondering, what do I do? She's adjusting to what she sees on the range, and everybody knows this because this happens fairly regularly in Oberhof. Part of it is skill of reading the wind, and part of it is luck, to be quite honest. There's that wind. Now, and there's the miss. The difficulty is once you've taken the clicks, you don't know where you are. And the wind is going left and right, and Sook has tried to make a decision and shoot through it, and now she's got 3 penalty loops. And this is the conundrum of Oberhof. We are seeing classic Oberhof early in this start order.
Yeah, not where you want to be just after the first of 2 shooting stages. Here's Julia Gima, 4th in Annecy in the sprint, shot clean that day, her best performance in almost 4 years in a sprint. 92% accuracy so far this season, and leading out 4 other athletes who we're very keen to keep an eye on over the course of the next 7.5 kilometers.
Lydia Zhurovskaita now of Lithuania coming in. She's 17 seconds back, but I think at this point, if you have good shooting conditions and you can just shoot through them, you're at a big advantage. And one of the interesting things is you see Tandvold lead the start order is the story in Oberhof is often written by how lucky you are on the shooting range as far as the conditions you get to shoot in, and also by how skilled you are at dealing with the wind. And because you're trying to stay focused on shooting and the process of trigger control, but you're also thinking about, is the wind changing on me? It's a very hard task to keep your mind focused on a single thing when multiple things are happening.
Anna-Maria Lampic wearing bib 24, her first podium in the sprint, Le Grand Bonnat.
I think for an athlete like Lampic, who is the fastest skier of period 1, this is a great opportunity for her that if she draws the lottery and gets really good prone shooting conditions, she's got a chance to actually win her first World Cup today because the conditions are so sketchy.
Yeah, just 2 misses. I say just 2 misses in a sprint with the context that is Anna-Maria Lampic, who skis so unbelievably fast and blows everyone else out the water in terms of those ski speed stats. As we're on board with Ingrid Landmark-Thundervold, a big welcome back, and you could hear that from the fans as well. Plenty excited to see her back on the skis after corrective heart surgery in December.
Yeah, she's an immensely popular figure in the sport from country to country. She has great social media presence and lots of followers, and everybody wishing her well. I was trying to watch her skiing as we watch Bulina shoot, and she has a miss. After shooting one, still only 3 clean shooters out of 8, and that tells the story right there. Todorova, the current leader still from Bulgaria in bib number 2 after shooting number 1. And this is bib number 12 now. Heidenberg comes in 4.9 seconds ahead of Todorova. Watching those flags. The flags are everything, especially from this prone position. A miss for Heidenberg right out of the start. Relatively stable wind, but that's a second miss now. It's going to be a tough day in Oberhof unless things change.
Yeah, 2 misses for Heidenberg. It's now Lisa Theresa Hauser, bib 28, starting her 7.5 kilometer sprint.
So Heidenberg comes in 0.2 of a second down to Kuzmina, but Kuzmina had a penalty and is currently in third. It's Todorova holding down the lead with 10 people through at shooting number 1.
Idalin, the Norwegian, only returned to the Norwegian team at Le Grand Bonnard just before Christmas. And 2 top 20 finishes in that pre-winter break race week. 100% prone in the 3 races in France as well, but only 60% standing.
Still managed some good results with that shooting. She was 26th and 16th, but it shows you that Lean, if she can put a couple of good shooting stages together, she can be a threat at the top of the order just with her ski speed. There's Alina Stremos now, and pretty strong wind, but it's a good direction. It's 15 kilometers an hour, but it's blowing almost straight at her. And when you get these opportunities, you really want to shoot quickly and make sure the wind doesn't change. Taking her time, 5 seconds between shots, clearly thinking about it, but the wind is strong and she misses there. Now the wind dies a little bit and changes direction. Solid performance. Might have taken a little bit more of a chance and shot a little quicker there, but 1 miss for Stremos. Here's Aita Gasparin now with a chance to take the lead because she's clean, and that's the key. Going to fall outside the time of the leader, Todorova. Going to fall in the second spot right ahead of Žeruskaitė of Lithuania. So in the early going, it's all about battling the wind from the prone position. 2 misses already for Natalia Sidorovic, and almost too long, or she went too far into that shooting stage before she reacted. When you miss 2 and you go to the third shot without adjusting, this is what happens. She's got 4 penalty loops.
That's disaster of a first shooting stage. 4 times round the 150-meter penalty loop.
Started the season in great form in Kontiolahti. Now we see our first standing shooter way down on the end of the shooting range. She's going to try to block the wind and shoot on point number 30 or point number 29. That's a good strategy as we see Michaela Carrera coming in. She's trailing by 18 seconds though from Todorova and has a miss. So we really want to kind of focus on the top of the picture, bib number 2, Todorova.
Yeah, you can see her in the standing position on the far side. Julia Tannheimer, and it's a welcome back to her as well. Missed out on the pursuit and the mass start in Annecy due to illness that spread through the German camp quite quickly, and saw plenty of withdrawals, particularly from the last 2 races.
Tannheimer's a big story in Germany, between her and Selina Grotjan winning the last sprint competition, or the mass start competition in Le Grand Bonnard. That the German fans are going to be on high alert this weekend. Not so many people here today, but it is a Thursday, and a wet Thursday it is. But the weekend we'll see that crowd swell. I know the pursuit races are actually sold out already for Saturday.
Yeah, we had 53,000 fans make the journey to Oberhof this time last year. Lena Haki-Gloss in the prone position, 3 out of 3.
On a miss. You can see strategically she slowed down to come into the shooting range. You see she was leading by 2.5 at 1.1 kilometers, then leading by half a second, and then trailing by 5.7. I think that is a strategic, that's a ski strategy of somebody who knows this venue. She needed to back off. It is a climb into the shooting range, one of the hardest ranges to come to shoot in, just because of the condition and the climb into the range. And now Anastasia Kuzmina, who had 1 prone miss, starts with 2 misses from the standing. And this is about as experienced a shooter as there is on the World Cup, and she's already got 3 misses on the day, but closes out nicely with a 7 for 10 effort on this windy day in Oberhof.
Yeah, great example of the challenges faced, particularly in the range, by the athletes today.
Yeah, and to be honest, to be clear, I think this is the biggest challenge they've faced on the World Cup yet this season. We saw some windy conditions in Kontiolahti, but from there, Hochfilzen and Le Grand Bernard were pretty mellow range conditions, both with relatively easy approaches to the shooting range. This is a big climb all the way up to the shooting range, and you're dealing with rain, wind, heavy wind, and potentially fog yet. That hovers over the shooting range.
Tanderold, first shooting stage.
Comes in with the lead. Unfortunately, ejects her round. When you see them do that, then what happens is they maybe only ejected the round halfway out, and it got jammed in the chamber. So she has to actually manually load a shot there. She ejected one of the rounds, the first 5.
And just along from her, Anna-Maria Lampic, 1 miss.
So Lampic will go to the penalty loop, and we didn't catch Tandervold's shooting. Looks like Tandervold went clean. So Tandervold and Lampic will come out pretty close to even, I think, by the time that Lampic leaves the penalty loop.
It was Anna-Maria Lampic who started 30 seconds behind Tandervold. Elvira Urberg, well, looking for a big response after starting so well in Kontiolahti, and it really just dropped off as we approached Christmas. She needs something big today to try and close the gap on Franziska Ploys in the overall point score.
We ever so quickly saw a quick shot of Ingrid Landmark-Tandervold leaving the shooting range. She leaves 20 seconds out of the lead. Venla Lehtonen, bib number 19 for Finland, haven't caught her shooting, but she was clean and leads by 1.6 seconds over Todorova of Bulgaria. Lampic, ironically, 1.4 seconds behind Tandervold with a penalty.
That's not bad from Glo Rambi as well, clean.
This could be the leader. It's going to be, no, she's outside the time of the top 3. She's going to check in 4th. As Selena Grocia now heads out on course to the roar of the German fans.
Yeah, well, what a story that was. The 3-time junior world champion really marking her claim on a senior spot, taking the win in the mass start, a German 1-2 for the first time since 2020.
This is a great picture. If you look at the subtleties of Lucy Shervatova, has yet to shoot. But we haven't seen her shooting. Didn't quite get the shooting card, but you can see the wind blowing her hair as we see Hanna Oberg now leaving the start order. Big questions here as to which Hanna Oberg we'll see. You brought it up, Ellen, that I think Hanna Oberg was trying to find some kind of health and fitness that'll get her through this regular season and have her prepared for the World Championships in just under a month. Here's Lisa Teresa Hauser now. 7.3 seconds back coming in. Challenging the time of Lehtonen now. She's
that's
clean.
Really good shooting.
Not going to take the lead though. Just outside. Going to fall behind Todorova as well. Will slot into 3rd.
Idalene in for her first shoot. Norwegian, 3 out of 3. Leading the way before coming into shooting 1.
She's a 100% prone shooter, and she gets 100% today. So keeping her prone shooting perfect, but her shooting statistics drop all the way down to 60% from standing. This is going to be good for Lean, even though she's not going to be in the lead. She knows that she can probably ski off some of that time that Lehtinen and Todorova have on her at this 9.1 seconds back in 4th.
Yep, coming in 4th. Ella Halvorsen, another of the revelations in the first trimester of this 24-25 BMW IBU World Cup season. She's burst really onto the scene in terms of stepping up her level this season and really impressing, particularly on the skis.
Started the season with a podium in the mixed relay and then getting a second place all by herself. And she's currently ranked 7th in the World Cup standings and really not terribly experienced at the World Cup. I've been very impressed with the focus and the ability to handle the pressure that Halvorsen has shown this season.
Yeah, there's a brilliant profile of her on the Biathlon World YouTube, and she just seems like a very grounded and a normal and focused young woman. Here's Lena Heikki-Gross.
I was just going to say, it's amazing. She's only raced 13 World Cups, and we already feel like we kind of know her.
Oceane Michelon, who was wearing the blue bib briefly before it was handed over to Jean Richard. It's been going back and forth between the French athletes.
Still looking for her first podium finish is Michelon. 7th in Kontiolahti earlier this season, and 8th in the mass start in Annecy. Here's Todorova to the line now, setting a great time to beat 1 miss on the day, 9 for 10. Normally you'd say for someone like Todorova that's not going to be enough, but on a day like today with the shooting range we see, this could be a breakout performance for Todorova, who leads now at the finish.
Yeah, 10th in the sprint in Hochfilzen. She shot clean that day, but she's had a good performance on the skis today, and that is a very good time to lay down first athlete over the line. 23 minutes 27.8. Here's Suvi Minkkinen. And when you look further back, the pace is being set up until the 4.7 kilometre mark by her Finnish teammates. They've really stepped it up in terms of shooting performance, saying they're trying to replicate race conditions in their shooting practice. Julia Tannheimer, 1 miss round the 150-metre penalty mark for her.
Here's Lehtinen now. She's clean, has a miss there, missed 2 now in the standing position. She had control of the lead coming in. Oh, she's actually 0.8 seconds back, so even with Todorova, now has to get this final shot, and she drops the last 3 shots.
All falling apart in that final standing shoot. She had a great last 2 stages of the trimester, smashing personal bests, and just the standing shoot where it's all come undone for the Finnish athletes.
The standing position is pretty solid at point 30. The wind coming left to right for the most part should be a pretty good buffer from the wind. That was probably equal parts psychological miss as it was conditional misses for Minkkinen.
Here's someone who is seeing on the World Cup for the first time in almost 2 years, Paula Botet, the French athlete, current IBU Cup leader, replacing Sophie Chauveau, and shooting clean. This is a very good start from the French athlete.
This is huge. Comes in with a 9.2 second lead and is going to leave the range a little bit less than that. 8.4 seconds in the lead, though. That is a significant lead. And remember, Lehtinen, the leader, has 3 misses from the standing position, and so does Lena Heikki-Gross, has 2 now, 3 on the day. So doors opening wide open for the IBU Cup leader now from France. Yeah,
it's only 2 races of her 9 has she not been on the podium for in the IBU Cup this season, and that more than catching the attention of the French selectors who have chosen to shake up the team for this first race of 2025. Carolina Norton, 1 miss so far.
One time to the penalty loop, and she's already outside the time of the leaders. And here comes Anastasia Kuzmina now. She comes in 135 back with 3 misses. So the fitness not quite what we had hoped for from the 3-time Olympic champion, but currently sitting in second of 3 finishers. A minute 35 back of Todorova, who hit 9 for 10.
You could see the wind in her hair as she came over the line as well. Challenging conditions as we're back with Elvira Oberg, who's in for her first of 2 shoots, coming in 6.2 seconds in the lead.
Has to stay clean, and there's the miss. Tandervold in the breakout, shooting standing. 1 miss so far on that stage. She missed 1 from the prone. There's 1 more shot left and goes 8 for 10. Just too hard to say what's going to happen with the shooting. 3 misses for Oberg, an absolute meltdown for the Swedes. Tough start for her as Lampic starts with a miss.
And now 2 misses for Anna-Maria Lampic, and it's all fallen apart once again for Elvira Oberg. 3 misses now for Lampic, just 1 miss from the prone, and 4 misses, only 1 hit in the standing. And, well, it's a long way away from what we saw and what we got excited about in France.
Well, with all the misses we're seeing from the names we know so far, Oberg already 3 from the prone position, a 50% shooting performance by Lampic. The door's wide open for the Germans to just thrill this crowd. It's just going to take some composure, some experience, and reading the situation very well, and maybe just a little bit of luck. Can Gro-Ranby find that luck? Starts with a hit. The key is to not overthink here. Just find the instinct, find the target, squeeze the trigger smoothly. Ranby really taking her time, 7.4 seconds between shots. It's going to be a slow shooting time, and she's going to go to the penalty loop once.
Well, we've seen it before in tough conditions where Gro-Ranby has really taken her time, and you question whether she's just getting a little bit too in her head when she's taking her time like that. But 2 misses, 8 out of 10 on the day, and it'll be twice around the penalty loop, an extra 300 metres after that final shoot for Gro-Ranby, the young Norwegian.
Yeah, she's trying her best. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of experience in this situation, especially on the World Cup. You can give her that, but she definitely needs to learn how to kind of let the shots go at some point here, because it's double jeopardy for how long she took on the shooting range.
Sonia Lane.
This could be good, clean. She's not terribly fast on the skis as Leinamo, but she's got 1 shot to go clean and be the first clean shooter on the day. And she is.
Excellent shooting from the Finnish athlete. They've been so open about the work that they've been doing, particularly in the range, on improving accuracy in race-like conditions. And that is a prime example of how to get it done. Clean shooting on the day, 10 out of 10 for Sonia Leinamo.
She's going to fall outside the lead time of Todorova by 12 seconds and will probably lose some time. Todorova, a faster skier than Leinamo, but this is going to do quite a bit better than her 27th, a personal best so far, that's for sure.
Here's Idalin.
2 quick misses in succession, and then she resettles. And when you don't have confidence in the standing and the wind is blowing your barrel all over the place, it makes it just that much worse. Thinking about trying to get that smooth shot, overholding perhaps, resettling, thinking about it, and then jumping on the shot. That is the classic struggle for somebody struggling with the standing position.
An early miss for Ella Halverson as well in the top of your picture. 3 misses though for Idalin, who came into shooting 2 in 4th. 2 misses for Ella Halverson as well. Not a good start at all for the Swedish athlete.
If you're Franziska Preuss starting at the back of the field, you're just trying not to think about what you're seeing happening, because the door is so wide open for her. But it is really tough shooting conditions. Very challenging.
And we're back watching Lena Häcki-Gloss. 3 misses on the day. This is the 6.1 kilometre mark. Julia Gimo as well.
Häcki-Gloss slots into 8th spot. Julia Gimo currently in 2nd now.
Yeah, over the checkpoint mark in 2nd, 33.1 down on the pace of Todorova, who is still the fastest out and after shooting 2 all the way to the finish. Jean Michelon, as there goes Franziska Preuss wearing the split yellow and red bib, and the noise and the atmosphere palpable. It is the best time, you have to argue, for the World Cup to land in Germany. The Germans flying, and their lead woman out on the course. Aita Gaspalan over now in second for now. 2 misses on the day.
We have to go back 5+ years, probably more like 10 years before the Germans had a period one, like the German women did this year, where the fans would be this excited. And all of the non-German early starters, big names, have lots of misses. Here's Suvi Minkinen now shooting through really strong wind, 23 kilometers an hour, but it is coming almost straight at her. So it should be able to hit the center of the target with a good shot, and she's 4 for 4. Falls outside the time of the leader, Botet, and she's clean.
Yep.
She's got her hat, throws her hat in the ring.
Suvi Minkinen is clean. And is this the start of her continuing her good form into 2025? You can see there's so much movement on those red flags in the range.
And I think Minkinen exhibited exactly what you have to do from the prone position. You have to take your time, make sure that your shooting is extra solid.
So Brassard Boucher.
And there's almost no wind to speak of. And it's still a miss for Brassard Boucher.
Yeah, next to her was Julia Kink, the 20-year-old. Part of this, of course, very young and exciting German contingent.
Well, this looks like a problem with the rifle. It looks like Lotte Lee may have fallen. You can see her rifle kind of sliding off the side of her shoulder there, and I'm not sure why that is. It looks like it's fastened poorly to her back, though, as we go back to Paula Botet, the leader, coming in by 6.9 seconds. But everybody else has misses. If she can go clean, this could be a huge lead for the IBU Cup leader, and she does it. Paula Botet will take control after standing shooting. Great composure.
Well, that is very, very special indeed from the IBU Cup leader, back on the World Cup after almost 2 years. Van Lettinen over the line in third. 3 misses. Such a strong start to the race, but just couldn't hold it after the final shooting stage. And all eyes on this Frenchwoman now. 36 seconds her advantage, and what a way to stamp your return.
You know, it's hard if you don't know how to if you're following these individual start races. Is really tough to find those moments of greatness, and that was an absolutely pressure cooker for Botet. She's replaced Sophie Chavot on the start order. That alone is somewhat controversial, and then she comes in and she goes clean on a day like today. That can be your meal ticket to your first World Cup win, and that might be enough.
Julia Zima over the line, clean shooting on the day, but 41 seconds behind the very, very early pace set by Todorova, who was wearing bib number 2. Here's Vanessa Voigt, who missed the last race in Le Grand Bonnard due to illness.
Voigt, a 96% prone shooter already with a miss, and 2 misses. That tells you how tough the range is.
Over the line, Ingrid Landmark-Turneveld, a big welcome back. And, 2 misses on the day, 43.2 seconds down.
That's not a horrible start. I think both the shooting and the skiing, we know she's capable of more on the skiing. But in these conditions, that was a tough return to the World Cup for Turneveld, and she passed with flying colors. See the effort of the race on. She's just happy to be there.
Yeah, and we're very happy to have her back and see her return in good form as well. 2 misses, but when you look at the conditions out there on the range, it is not a bad effort at all. In third for now, 43.2 seconds down, but all eyes are on Botet.
Coming to the line now, Anna-Maria Lampic. She's 50% shooting on the day. She's still going to take down possibly Lehtinen here, and she does. She's going to sneak right inside Lehtinen into the top 5.
Julia Simon, 4 out of 4. That's 5.
Let's look at the time.
Very good start. She's was 5.5 seconds down coming in, but that's clean shooting. And where will she fall outside of the time of her compatriot? She looks to her side for the time check. It's 9.3 seconds. Here's Selena Grotian looking to go clean, and one miss, 9 out of 9. So close. It was 10 out of 10 though for Sonia Leinamo, the Finnish athlete, dropping to the ground. An excellent shooting performance. Into second, 19.4 seconds behind Todorova. Not a bad effort at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, and what a year the Finns are having. Yeah. When Lehtinen drops 3, Suvi Minkkinen still in the hunt for the lead, and Leinamo comes across the line in second. That's a great start for the Finnish team this year.
Lou Jean-Minot really struggled on home snow in France in Le Grand Bonnard. She said it wasn't her focus. Her focus is the World Championships next month in Lenzerheide. And she's taking her time to get this first shot away.
Yeah, trailing by 14.4 seconds clean. So she's taking her time shooting and not skiing particularly at her best. But she's not one to spike any of her efforts. She's going to be a consistent biathlete today. And she misses the last shot as well. She had an opportunity there, bleeding time on the tracks. And now a loop for her as well. Now can Dorothea Vera throw her hat in the ring? Comes in relatively slow, 22 seconds back of the leader at shooting number 1. But she's clean so far.
Hannah Oberg, who's in the small picture. 2 misses already. Dorothea Vera clean in the prone position. Third miss for Oberg on the day.
4th. It's just so easy to unravel when you're already struggling both with your fitness and your shooting mentality. And Hannah Oberg just continues to struggle this season. And remember, there's a pursuit competition off of this, and that sets you up. If you don't finish in the top 60, you're not even in that pursuit, and the World Cup points just keep slipping away from you if you're Hannah Oberg. You
could see her eyes close and her head just drop down very, very slightly, and the frustration evident there.
This is not a sport for the meek of heart. It is a very tough, challenging sport. When you have down periods like Hannah Oberg is having, you sometimes can't figure out how you're going to get out of that situation. I believe she will, but it's not happening today.
Darlina Chalik, the Ukrainian 23-year-old, debut today. This is her first World Cup start. And now look at that. Botet, 33.2 seconds. The advantage on the early leader, Todorova. This is Franziska Preuss, 1 miss in the prone position.
She's skiing well though, but she needed to be clean to ensure that she could. She might actually, if she didn't spend too much on that first lap, she knows she can maybe pick up the pace a little bit. But Paula Botet, she's staying about even with Todorova on this last lap. She left the range 33 seconds or 36 seconds back or ahead. She's 33 up at the next time check, then 35 up, back to 33 back up on Botet or on Todorova. So I think she's going to take the lead here by about 30 seconds. And that's a good
This
margin.
Is an athlete who's never finished inside the top 20 before on a World Cup, Paula Botet. And a very impressive performance. Coming towards the line is Julia Tannheimer, the 19-year-old. Keep your eyes on the time. Over the line, and it will be enough for third for now. For the young German, a very warm reception from the crowd for her. 1 miss on the day. 21.4 seconds behind the time of Todorova.
You can see that is not Paula Botet in this shot, but her graphic is up because she's heading towards the finish line. Leinamo still sitting in second, exactly 2 seconds ahead of Tannheimer. A very improbable leaderboard so far at the finish. And Botet charging for the line.
And Botet over the line in first for now, 31.1 seconds, her advantage. Clean shooting on her return to the World Cup circuit, her first race in almost 2 years now, and what an incredible performance. She's never finished inside the top 20, and with that time, she is assured a massive PB, and eyes will be on whether it's enough for the podium, and if not, a win.
And those 2 misses by her teammate, Justine Bressat-Boucher, pretty much solidify her as still the undisputed leader. Just trying to look down the start order of folks who could still supplant Botet at the top of the order. Tannheimer's in the finish, and she can't do it. Selena Grotian is 9 for 10 and on the last lap, but a minute back. So she's not going to do it. Looking for potentially the German World Cup overall leader, Preuss, who has a miss from the prone position. So things looking very good for bib number 27 there. Paula Botet for her first World Cup victory. And she's just riding a hot streak right now, Ellen. Great form.
She is indeed. And it's a brilliant example of giving athletes who are performing well on the IBU Cup circuit, giving them a chance on the World Cup. 7 out of 9 of her IBU Cup races she's finished in the top 3. It's an incredible record that she holds in the second tier of biathlon racing. And given the chance today, Sophie Chauveau has dropped down to the IBU Cup, but it's all about Paula Botet. What a way to stamp your return to the circuit. Here's another returner who joined back up with the Swedish team in Le Grand Bonnard.
2 misses though. Scott not skiing fast enough. She's already 22 seconds back coming in. Couldn't afford a miss as we go through the first 70 athletes on the prone position. But you know, talking about Botet, it just shows you have to trust the coaches. I think you and I were both. We look at Carolina Naughton now trying to move into the top 5, but you and I were talking before the show that we were both a little bit surprised that Botet was given the nod over Chauveau, who already has a podium this season. But this just shows you the coaches kind of know, those French coaches know, they have a good sense of where their athletes are performing, and that was a brilliant stroke by them to put her on the start.
100%. Naughton coming over the line, a minute 48 down. She's into 10th, 3 misses on the day. Here's Lou Jean Monod, 1 miss in the standing position. She's 55.7 seconds down behind her compatriot at the 6.7 kilometre mark.
Jean Monod just not quite as dynamic as we saw her in the opening World Cup sequence in Kontiolahti, where she was a little bit more of a factor. She's not skiing poorly, but she's just not that sharp athlete. And a lot of these athletes might be a little bit under a training load over the Christmas break. They know that the Lenzerheide World Championships are coming. They're not really necessarily trying to shoot for these World Cups to be at the very top. Maybe kind of training through this Oberhof World Cup, and that might be why she's just a little bit off of what we're expecting to see here for a top performance.
Yeah, you can see the blue bib of Jean Richard behind her. He's Selina Glottian, 1 miss, and trying to force her way into the top 3. It won't be enough today. She comes across the line in 6th, just inside a minute down on Botet, as we can go and take a look at Julia Simon, her standing shoot, 1 miss. And that's 2 misses now on the day, 8 out of 10, and it will be twice around the penalty loop.
Well, she knew she had a chance. She wasn't skiing at her very best. She wasn't skiing her way into this race, but she could have shot her way into this race with that clean shooting there. But, you know, pretty much standard for the course. Not a lot of clean shooting stages today. In fact, on the day so far, with 41 people into the finish, just 2 people clean. Leinamo from Finland currently sitting in 4th, and Yulia Zhima of Ukraine currently sitting in 8th. Everybody else has a miss or more.
Well, we haven't seen a huge amount of Franziska Preuss over the course of this race so far, but there she is. That was just after the 4 kilometre mark, as Lou Jean Monod, 4th, 52.5 seconds down, 1 miss. And well, she did look so focused, and when we know she's focused in the rain, she does perform quite well. We saw that in Hochfilzen, but she's not tying the skiing and the shooting together in the way that she'd expect and she'd want, is she, Chad?
No, it's an odd time of the year if you're one of the best in the world. You have to carry some sort of fitness. You have to go back and kind of rebuild the aerobic system after period 1. And Oberhof always falls in kind of a weird spot where you're probably coming off a pretty good training load over the Christmas break. First of all, you have to recover from period 1 and then try to put some load in. And it's not a lot of time. So a lot of these athletes might be carrying a little bit more training load right now and be a little more fatigued, especially the big names. And I'm looking particularly also at Franziska Preuss, currently just 21st with 1 miss from the prone position. She would be much higher than that in period 1, characteristically, but I think she might be preparing for those World Championships. Yeah,
we didn't see her fall outside the top 5 in individual competition in the first trimester. Jean Richard, 2 misses in standing position. She's the blue bib wearer, 2 4th finishes in at Le Grand Bonnard, and well, that almost her first podium, just beaten in the line on the mass start.
Yeah, it was a heartbreaker for her, and she's not going to get that opportunity to be on the podium again today. She goes to the penalty loop twice. And now I'm still just late in the order. The red group, the top 15 athletes on the overall World Cup are all out on course. And still, Franziska Preuss, the last one of that group to shoot standing. She has one miss from the prone. Has yet to shoot this from the standing position. And I'm just kind of looking down the order to see if there are any people late in the order who could challenge for a podium or even the win. And I'm not seeing anybody.
Oshia Michelon over the line in 4th. Hannah Urberg 34th for now. 5 misses, not the return after some extra rest that she would have wanted at all. But Oshia Michelon happy with that performance.
So Michelon in the finish. Currently sitting in the 4th spot. Justine Brassard-Boucher coming toward the finish. Here is the performance of Preuss, and you can see she's actually losing time after shooting 1 from 38 seconds to 44 seconds. That's not a good sign that her fitness is at its peak. So not what the Germans came to see today from the German team so far. I mean, solid performance, but nobody on the podium at this point.
Another miss for Franziska Preuss. And another again. It will be at least 300 meters around the penalty loop before she can head off on this final lap.
And the magic, at least for today, is gone. And this will fall well outside her top 5 streak. And she's going to be well down the running order in Oberhof. And a disappointment for the German team because this sets up the pursuit competition, and Preuss will be well back in that pursuit competition.
Yeah, of course, as we cast our eyes over the later order, we'll be keeping an eye on those in the top 60 ahead of the pursuit on Saturday.
Watching for Minkinen coming across the line. She'll move into the 4th spot. We also missed Kirkeide. We'll get a look back here. Here's Justine Brassard-Boucher now coming to the line. She'll move into the 4th spot at the finish, 40.3 seconds back. But we missed the Norwegian. Maren Kirkeide has come into 2nd spot, sneaking ahead of Todorova, who was the early leader. Botet leading her by 30-plus seconds. And then Maren Kirkeide, for her first ever World Cup podium, has slid into 2nd spot.
Yep, that is a really good performance from Maren Kirkeide. 31.1 seconds behind Paula Botet. And Todorova currently sitting in 3rd. She started 2nd, bib number 2, setting the early pace. And only 2 athletes have gone faster with 51 of the 98 over the line. It's an incredible performance from the Bulgarian.
Well, what do they say? Oberhof is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. In the Forrest Gump sense of the word, Julia Tannheimer. The Germans doing well, but not on the podium. There's Tannheimer in 9th and Grotian in 10th. It's currently 56 and 59 seconds back. That is striking distance to the victory in the pursuit in 2 days' time. But Paula Botet besting all with a clean shooting day. And the French have to feel pretty good about the decision to put her there.
Here's Dorothea Wöhler, 81.9 seconds behind Botet.
Just not looking like she's at the ski speed she needs to really challenge for a podium position. Is Veer clean on the day and 118 back at 5.6K, 121 back at that last point, 6.1K. So continuing to lose time to the leaders. So Veer not really a factor despite being perfect on the shooting range. See the course holding up pretty well in this 100% humidity. It's basically skiing through water. Now the fog descending on this course. Get a look at 81 there from the United States as well. Chloe Levins back on the World Cup along with teammate Tara Garrity, Moz Jackie Garzo, and Grace Castonway, who we saw there. But Preuss not looking like the magic is in her at the moment that we saw from the period 1. We'll have to hear what she has to say after the competition. Will hang on to the yellow bib for sure. She's got a big lead there by 194 points over Elvira Oberg in second. Oberg not doing particularly well today either. She's currently sitting in 28th at the finish with 5 penalties.
And I suppose that has to be the good thing that anyone who's backing Franziska Preuss as their horse for the season is the fact that pretty much anyone else who is in competition for taking the yellow bib off her shoulders, she of course, as you rightly mentioned, Chad, has that 194 point advantage, but everyone else who is trailing her, the next 3 behind, have also dropped. They haven't been able to take advantage of her falling back today, as we see Julia Simon heading towards the line.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all relative, and relatively speaking, she's actually ahead of Elvira Oberg right now, so she's taking more points out of Oberg if she can hang on to the finish. Here's Julia Simon now. She's going to finish in 11th. That'll eat up some of the points. She's currently sitting in the 4th spot in the overall standings. 2 podiums on the season, and she comes into 11th.
Yeah, and as you mentioned there, not just Franziska Preuss, but you'd be interested to hear the thoughts of the majority of the athletes, just because of the conditions out there today. It's been far from ideal, as Franziska Preuss through 6.1 kilometres in 28th, just inside 2 minutes, and it's a far cry of what we saw from her in the early parts of this season. Sophia Schneider now 1 miss in the prone position. Bib 75, another addition to the German team for this home World Cup. 54 World Cup starts.
She had a spectacular showing at the World Championships here 2 years in 2023, and I think that's, in the back of your mind, if she's doing well in the IBU Cup and you think back to that magical moments she's had for her personal best in the World Championships, she gets an obvious nod for this World Cup start, but didn't do much with it today, as Dorothea Viera, coming to the line, is over 1.5 minutes back and just challenging her teammate Carrara and skiing off the time of Carrara as well. So Viera with relatively pedestrian ski performance, but perfect on the shooting range.
Anna Magnussen as well over the line in 45th for now. Vanessa Voigt, 2 misses, but very much off the ski speed. 50th for her. Here's Jean Richard, 2 misses as well, both coming in the standing position. She'll fall outside of the top 10. The blue bib driving towards the line. It will be 11th for Jean Richard.
The French are not thrilled with their shooting, obviously, today. Everybody, but Jean Minot, Michelin, each with 1 miss. That's among the best shooters of the day. Richard with 2 and Julia Simon with 2. Surprisingly, though, Simon falling behind Richard with the same shooting score. So maybe an upswing in the ski performance by the young Richard.
Yeah, we only have 2 athletes in the top 10 who went 10 out of 10 today, and that is, of course, the leader Paula Botet and Leinamo as well of Finland. Only 3 in the top 15 with a small 0 next to their name. It's just testament to the challenges the athletes are facing in the range.
The Finnish team really the big winners today. They got Minkinen back in the top 5 right now, and Leinamo, going to be her a big best for her, PB for Leinamo in 8th. If she can hang on to this 8th spot.
So here is Franziska Preuss, and just tucking in as she heads towards the finish line now. She has gone through the final checkpoint.
Yeah, conditions not very savory, but at the same time, Preuss not looking like she's on the attack. Like she had some amazing fitness in the period 1, and clearly loaded up. Either that, I'm not sure. Maybe we heard some that Johannes Tingnes Bø had some illness over the holidays. A lot of illness going around at that time of year, especially coming together with family members. Perhaps Preuss didn't get the training she needed to over the Christmas break, but certainly not the same skier we saw in period 1 today.
No, over the line, 2 minutes outside of Paula Botet, 27th, 3 misses on the day, and that is her worst finish on the World Cup circuit so far this season. Hadn't finished outside of the top 5 in individual competition until today.
Here's bib 66, Regina Ermetz, trying to move into the top 20 for the first time this season.
Well, it's been a really interesting season in terms of her shooting performance. One miss today, so up and down in terms of when she's gone clean, and other times when she's dropped upwards of 5 and 6. But a good shooting day for Ermetz of Estonia today.
Yeah, 9 for 10 on a windy day like today, where the field is missing multiple shots, is a good sign. But you know, we talked a little bit about coming into the show. This Oberhof World Cup period is usually an odd period, and there you see the leaderboard. If you don't believe me, Paula Botet atop the leaderboard, followed by Maren Kirkeide. Both of them would be their maiden. Well, all three of the top 3, first time on the podium for them. Paula Botet's first victory, Maren Kirkeide's first podium, and Marianne Todorova's first podium as well. And what a topsy-turvy race that was. We're still not complete.
What a start to 2025. As you rightly say, Chad, not complete yet. We have 66 of the 98 athletes over the line. But of course, the big story is Paula Botet. She will now not be beaten. A 31.1 second advantage over Maren Kirkeide just before we went to the graphic of the results, the intermediate results there. We did actually see the replay of Maren Kirkeide coming over the line. She was tucked in behind a group, and she sort of quietly went around about her business in that race, and that's how you have to do it. Over the line, like we say, 31.1 seconds behind that of the leader, just one miss on the day, and you really have to give the flowers to Todorova, Milena Todorova of Bulgaria, who was wearing bib number 2, set the early pace, and has still managed to hold on to that first podium. Only 2 athletes going quicker than she did, and she was only starting second. A really, really strong performance.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, as you see bib number 80 now from the United States, is Tara Garrity-Moats. She's got 2 from the prone position. Currently 2 for 2 on the standing, but you can see the difficulty that Tara Garrity-Moats is having holding the rifle on the target and really taking her time to shoot her. But going back to the finish order, I mean, the fact that Todorova started bib number 2, kind of a good psychological place for somebody who's never been on the podium before to start on a day like today, because you're not drawing any attention. You're just out there doing your thing from the front of the field. As Tara Garrity-Moats, pretty solid performance from standing there. She'll go one time around the penalty loop, as you see the wind flakes still blowing crazily on the range. But back to the thought of Todorova, she could just go out there and do her thing. And a lot of times on a day like today, that's really what you need. You don't need any extra pressure besides just trying to focus on what's going on in the shooting range and trying to shoot through that.
Andreea Nedreia of Romania, you can just see through the blur and the fog there. 3 misses so far, just 1 in standing. Takes a deep breath and a look up, composes herself well, and it'll be 1 more time around the penalty loop before she can start her final 2.5 kilometre lap.
You're just looking at the results. Maren Kirkeide started 30 seconds ahead of Paula Botet in the start order and finished 31.1 seconds down. That's why we missed her finish, because she came across with Botet. The graphics were focused on Botet. We did not see Kirkeide in the shot. But essentially, she rode Paula Botet right into the finish line to take the second spot ahead of Todorova by starting 30 seconds ahead of her and finishing right with her. So good on Maren Kirkeide. And we apologize for missing the shot there, but she kind of snuck in to that second spot on the television shots. Here's Judita Trabaita of Lithuania, bib 89. No World Cup points yet this season. She's best finish for her has been 46th. If she can get around that penalty loop, she might have a shot at a PB today. With so many people also missing a lot of shots, she's shooting better than most of the field today. Now bib 73 to the finish. This is Pascal Paradis of Canada.
And she's just outside the top 40. 3 misses, 41st. She crosses the line. And you can really see the fog descending. Sophia Schneider. 4 misses for the German. But the roars of the home crowd gritting her teeth as she comes towards the finish line.
Yeah, despite those 4 misses, still solidly in the middle of the start order for the pursuit on Saturday. So Schneider into the 33rd spot. Top 60 move on. We'll keep an eye on that as this race winds down in Oberhof. A wet affair, a rainy affair, something you can expect in Oberhof.
And already looking at the finish results so far, it's going to be interesting, to say the least, the pursuit on Saturday.
Big time gap, actually, from first to 10th, almost a minute, 59 seconds to Grotian in 10th. And then a lot of the big stars of the sport buried in the results. And that just invites a big move from somebody. Julia Simone from 12th place is 107 back. She's won from further back than that. And so it should be really exciting, especially if you consider, look at the top 10 and the level of experience in the top 10. There are going to be a lot of shaky knees at the start order of that pursuit on Saturday. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it was the French team that on the women's side dominated. Well, when we were here this time last year, and looking at the top 10, it is of course the French just outside the top 10 as well. Jean Richard and Julia Simon in 11th and 12th respectively. But 4 athletes in the top 10. Lou Jean Minot in 7th, Ocean Michelon in 6th, Bréchard Boucher, of course, has happy memories of this course, in 4th. But it's Paula Botet who takes the headlines and the victory, a huge personal best performance. First finish inside the top 20, and she's standing atop the podium. Grace Castonway, 2 misses, the American.
He was trying to get into her second straight pursuit event. It's going to be tough now. She looked like she would have done that clean from the standing position, but goes to the loop once. Castonway still getting her experience on the World Cup, as she's had just 11 starts to her career. As we see Maren Kikkaida now, a replay of her shooting from the standing position. A lot of composure, but you'll notice, Ellen, nobody came in here and just ripped them off. It was a pretty difficult standing for everybody, and to go 5 for 5 for Kikkaida, that was the difference maker for her.
Yep, absolutely. Patience paying off for plenty of the athletes, particularly those with zeros and ones next to their name in the top 10.
Well, again, Kikkaida came into the shooting range. She missed one prone, which in a lot of ways might have taken the pressure off of her in a good way coming into the second shooting stage, because she was down in 17th coming in to shoot the standing. And with so many people missing multiple standing shots, Kikkaida just kind of shot up the rankings from 17th to 4th, leaving the shooting range, and then skied her way up into the top 3, beating Todorova and Bréchard Boucher in that last few kilometers of the last loop.
It's exactly what the Norwegian team needs, doesn't it, Chad? It's they've had their ups, they've had their downs, they've had podiums, but it hasn't been in their numbers or in its consistency at all. And well, for Maren Kikkaida to do that in these conditions, there's a huge amount of encouragement, not just for her as an individual, her first podium, but also for the team as a whole. Absolutely, and I think any time you can get, the more people you can put on the podium from your team, the better off they're going to be at the in the competition, because they've been in that experience. So if you want to look at fielding a relay team and being competitive, Kikkaida now becomes just a little bit better, a little bit more solid choice for your quartet in any relay situation, because she's come through the pressure cooker and stood on the podium. It's a big moment for her. Yeah, the signs have been there that this is something she's been building towards. She, of course, had 2 impressive finishes at Le Grand Bernard. She was 5th in the pursuit, 11th in the sprint. And, well, there's another big step up in terms of her progression on the World Cup circuit, her first podium today.
Elena Cherkova has to go around the loop 2 times. Already outside the top 60. Will not make the pursuit competition, so just racing for pride now. And the current spot at the finish line, bib 60, is being held by Tolmacheva of Romania, currently in 60th spot. Chloe Levin's just outside that. She's in 70th, 3:47 back, and the only American in the finish so far. Canada has Nadia Moser in 66. She's just outside that qualifying spot. But Pascal Paradis, currently sitting in the 43rd position for Canada, should make the pursuit competition for the North American contingent.
And here's Inka Hämäläinen, 31st through the 6.7 kilometre checkpoint. 2 misses in the prone position, but clean and standing.
You see the snow here in Oberhof, not a ton of natural snow. They have a ski hall, they call it, the ski hall. It's not a tunnel per se. There's ski tunnels all over the world, but this is the longest course of its type. It's above ground, and it's like an indoor ski hockey arena. It follows the natural terrain. And they can actually make snow inside that building. It's the only place in the world that operates on that system. They make snow out for this course outside in the winter months when it's cold enough, but as you can tell today, you couldn't blow snow. It's 4 degrees above freezing, so they can actually help secure their World Cup course by blowing that snow inside their ski hall. It's a fairly unique and amazing facility.
Hämäläinen being roared on by the Finnish coaches. On course for a spot in the pursuit.
Oh, she's doing great. She's going to be well inside the pursuit. She's actually fighting for probably a top 30 at this point, maybe top 35. She's got 141 goes by. There's Naughton in 21st, but she's still got about 150 meters to go.
Yeah, and this would be a huge personal best. We've spoken about it, Chad, plenty of times, particularly at Le Grand Bernard, the way that the Finnish team is stepping up, and the fact that, well, even just one athlete, we started, of course, with Suvi Minkkinen. It raises the standards held by the team, and this will be a personal best performance by a huge margin for Inka Hämäläinen. Her personal best set just before the Christmas break in France, the pursuit. She finished 51st, and that is a huge performance today. 2 misses in prone, clean in standing, and well, she can take a big bow wearing bib number 90 as well, always challenging in the lower bibs or further down the order, and still only 19 years old. Incredible progression so far in the first part of this season.
Great sign for Hämäläinen too that she has a good shot at the Junior World Championships at 19, still a junior athlete, and should compete in those later this season. Those will take place in Junior World Championships be held in Östersund, Sweden in February and March.
Yegorova over the line in 80th. As we just have 9 more athletes, and well, Chad, you mentioned it, and here is what happened to Eve Bovard. Never what you want to see, taking a tumble. And I think you mentioned when she came over the line that the positioning of her rifle, you noticed something wasn't quite right, and well, there's the evidence to back up what you were suggesting at the time.
Yeah, it can happen that maybe the harness got pulled out of place or the stock broke. It wasn't real clear what happened, but you could see it was hanging kind of awkwardly off the side of her body.
And we just see that. Here's something else that I thought I spotted in the background, but it was just outside the picture. It's Julia Zuma behind Tanderold, and we're focused on the shooting of Tanderold, and I saw this ski flick up, and I thought that's doesn't look like that should be there. And well, there's confirmation of what happened leaving the range. challenging all over the course as Garso over the line for the United States of America. 2 misses on the day.
86 spot for right ahead of teammate Tara Garrity-Moats. The United States with a little bit different lineup, as some of the last World Cup athletes have either illness or are engaged in other ski competitions, but Garzo and Garrity-Moats getting the opportunity to start here for Team USA will not qualify for the pursuit, so they'll just get ready for the relay on Sunday. Or the mixed relay, I should say. This World Cup stop, a sprint today for the women, a sprint tomorrow for the men. Saturday, the pursuits for men and women, and Sunday, single mixed and mixed relays. That's the order of business for Oberhof. And the fog, now, at least it was nice to hold off until the end of the competition.
Yeah, Grace Castanway having to fight her way through the fog and towards the finish line.
A lot easier to ski through the fog than shoot through it, I'll tell you that.
She, of course, will also be outside, far outside the top 60, so no pursuit for Castanway this time round. And once again, we've seen plenty of brilliant camaraderie between the American team. Saw that particularly in the relay in Hochfilzen.
Yeah, it's a great group. They have a nice presence on social media. They have a U.S. Biathlon women's team group, and some great content out there. Check it out if you're into Instagram. I believe it's U.S. Biathlon Women, if I'm not mistaken.
Charalampidou, the Greek athlete, the only Greek athlete on the women's circuit at the moment. First World Cup race of the season, the last athlete to start wearing bib 98. Only 4 career starts, including this one. Still 22 years old, and, well, challenging conditions even. We've seen the more senior and more experienced athletes in this field for the women's sprint struggling today and dropping off the pace and quality by their standards. But Chad, you have to feel particularly for some of our debutantes today. I think we had 3 debutantes in the field, and of course those who are still within the first 5 of their World Cup starts.
Yeah, it's a tough event. I mean, I remember my second early season on the World Cup. I raced in Oslo, and I think I started 102 out of 105, and by the time I started, it was shin deep mashed potatoes, and the point of going out was almost irrelevant at that point, and it wasn't one of my finest races, but it's still so important to get on the start and get through a World Cup start to get the experience and move your experience level along.
And it's the range of experience as well, isn't it? It's not just the positive experience and the ones that are maybe less challenging in terms of weather conditions. It's learning to adapt to days like today, where the athletes are facing 5 degrees temperatures, the rain coming down, the wind in the range swirling and changing directions, and of course the fog.
Yeah, unlike Le Grand Bornand, which has a stellar reputation for weather, we experienced the last World Cup stop. It was mostly downpour. It was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde there too, but I think the rain overpowered the nice weather here. Oberhof, everybody knows what you're getting. When you come into Oberhof, you bring your raincoat. And
that's a prime example of it. Barely being able to see the athletes as they come through the fog. That's what you come to Oberhof to expect, and of course we do hope that the conditions do slightly ease over the course of the next couple of days. We'll of course be back for the men's 10-kilometre sprint at the same time tomorrow, and as Chad said, the pursuits on Saturday, both the men and women, and then we have the single mixed relay, which we haven't seen since the opening day of action in Kontiolahti, and the mixed relay as well to conclude the first of our German double-header to kick off 2025.
Well, coming across the line there, Bulgaria's Maria Zharkova is going to be happy to see that her teammate Milena Todorova is on the podium. Last few competitors now on the course coming to the finish line. This is the number 95 from Kazakhstan, and that is Galina Wisniewskaja-Sheparenko. And then our final competitor, breaking out the Greek music in the stadium for her. This is Konstantina Shalampidou.
Yep, the final athlete to start. And the last athlete to cross the line. To conclude a memorable day here in Oberhof, the first race of 2025, and one that we'll remember for a very long time indeed.
Kind of a shocker in a lot of ways, but as we said, coming into the show, Oberhof is usually, it's a little bit of a shake-up of the world order from period one, and it certainly was today, as Paula Botet gets the win over Maren Kierkeide by 31.1. It's over a miss as well. I think with a miss, Botet still would have won by a few seconds.
Yep, it was clean shooting on the day though for Paula Botet, who takes her first victory, her first time finishing within the top 20 on the World Cup after marking her return for the first time in 2 years in style. The IBU Cup leader taking top spot and the gold medal here in Oberhof. Maren Kierkeide going about her business very quietly but very well. One miss on the day, 31.1 seconds behind Paula Botet, and a first medal in 22 years for Bulgarian athlete Milena Todorova, wearing bib number 2, smashing her personal best. And a brilliant performance to take third. One miss on the day, 35 seconds behind the leader. It was the French who dominated in terms of the nation statistics in the top 10 as well. 4 French athletes in the top 10. Justine Bressard-Boucher taking 4th. Suvi Minkinen continuing her good form into 2025. The Finnish woman, 1 miss on the day to finish 5th. Oceane Michelon in 6th, and then Lou Jean Monod just outside of the flower ceremony in 7th. Sonja Leinamo shooting clean on the day. Another brilliant performance from the Finnish women, who just continue to smash boundaries. Julia Tannheimer back from illness. She finished 9th, just ahead of Selina Golotian, who couldn't back up her incredible win from the mass start in Annecy with a podium performance today, but she does still finish just inside the top 10, taking 10th. Jean Richard and Julia Simon in 11th and 12th respectively. And as we see the start list flick through, those inside the top 60 of course will be progressing through to the pursuit on Saturday, and it's Ella Halvorsen who holds the 60th spot, so just making it in. Notable names who've missed out, including Vanessa Voigt, the German, who finished 68th after some brilliant performances in the early part of the season and a number of podiums in that as well. And here's how things are affected in the Women's World Cup total score rankings. It is Franziska Preuss who holds onto the yellow bib. She holds such a big advantage in that competition, and despite dropping well outside of the expectations that she has set for her, and of course this crowd as well, she finished 28th today, more than enough to hold that strong advantage.
Yeah, big day for Bulgaria. As you see, Milena Todorova in 25th overall in the sprint standings. Bulgaria actually has a very strong history in women's biathlon. Katerina Dafovska, the IBU executive committee member, who was on hand at a lot of these events. The Olympic champion in 1998 in the individual from Bulgaria, as well as Irina Nikulchina, I believe silver medalist from the Salt Lake Games 4 years later. So Bulgaria has had a great history in women's biathlon, but haven't had a high water mark in a while. And today, It is Milena Todorova at 26 years of age, getting her first ever podium and finishing in third, and that should bring a smile to the face of Ekaterina Dafovska, who has given much of her life to the sport.
Yeah, it was Ekaterina Dafovska, who was the last Bulgarian athlete to secure a podium position on a World Cup. And it today is all about Milena Todorova. And some excellent celebrations from the French fans who made the trip over the border. Paula Botet stepping up from the IBU Cup as leader of the second tier of biathlon racing and taking top spot today as we look back on Milena Todorova's race.
Yeah, get used to her face. Now, this could change things for her just from an outlook of what she can do in her own mind, and that's what these big moves to the front of the order can do for any young athlete. She's just 26 years of age, still getting used to. It's been 4 seasons since she's been this high, and she was 8th in the sprint in Östersund back in 2021. So a nice surge by the Bulgarian into the 3rd spot. And Maren Kierkegaard, on a day when Norway's chances are kind of questionable, she steps up and takes the podium spot in 2nd spot. And she's got to feel great about that, coming back from a miss in the prone and then cleaning her standing and shooting to the top of the leaderboard over the last 2.5 kilometer loop, and secures that 2nd spot with a great ski performance on the last 2.5 Ks. And then Paula Botet, what a day for her.
Absolutely. We'll have to go back through the statistics and find the last time when we had a podium that was all new faces, because that's what we have today, and it's led by Paula Botet. Had never finished inside the top 20. Her last race was actually the best race that she's registered, her personal best before today was 21st in the sprint in Oslo, and that was the last time she raced on the World Cup circuit. And 2 years later, given the nod ahead of Sophie Chauveau. And what a way to leave your mark and, of course, return the favour to the selectors.
Paula, what a crazy day, back in the World Cup and a victory. This, I don't know, do you have any words for this?
No, no words. I can't believe what happened. I won the race.
You won the race, you won it in great fashion. What was the feeling out there? What's the feeling of this crowd?
I was feeling good in the first uphill, and then after the downhill I was feeling, oh my god, I'm so wet and so cold, how I can shoot with cold fingers. And then I do 0-0, and then the last lap was really hard, because not because I wasn't feeling good, but really because it was a lot of wind. I was so cold and so wet.
And then Maren, I think Kierkegaard told you were the leader and you saw it. What was the feeling?
I don't know. I was thinking, oh, there is a lot of athletes behind me. I can't win a race. And then I take my phone, and so I was still the leader.
Well, you are, and you are a World Cup winner. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, that goes down as one of my favourite post-race interviews of the season by quite some margin. It's so lovely to see athletes. We saw it with Martin Oldal, just over 3 weeks ago now. His reaction, very similar, just soaking up the atmosphere, not really having the words to explain what had just happened. And there is a brilliant video, as mentioned in the interview there, of Maren Kierkegaard as they cross the line, telling Paula Botet that she is in the lead. And as she rightly mentioned, there was, of course, a fair few athletes behind her who we'd pinned as those to watch in the later order. And, of course, one of those being Franziska Preuss. But, a brilliant interview. And I'm sure we'll see plenty of grins, smiles, celebrations as we see her in just a few moments' time step up onto the podium.
Yeah, she'll get 90 points for her efforts in that victory today, but it's kind of interesting the fact that she and Kierkegaard came across the line together, both of them cutting their teeth on the IBU Cup over the course of their careers, and this is sort of an emergence for both of them at the same time, crossing the line first and second as they cross the line. You don't get an opportunity like that. You don't see that happen very often, and this was indeed atypical World Cup race, but it shows you just how great the sport of biathlon is with all the dynamics, with the Christmas break, the New Year's break, and the looming World Championships. It creates this sort of vacuum in this period too for great surprises and things we don't expect, and that's exactly what we got today in a very windy, wet Oberhof.
An atypical race, and Chad, you have to say it's an atypical season. As you know, we talk about the headlines before we started this race. So many big names either not performing this season or out through injury, illness, and it's opened the door to new names to come through and really mark their spot on the World Cup circuit, and no more so than someone who was given the nod just before the turn of the year, Paula Botet, and she's going to be very hard to remove from this team. Now she has a win to her name.
Well, that's the whole thing of the development of the sport, is that new people have to come up and experience success for them to do it again. You don't find the confidence to win until you've won one. Now Paula Botet will look at winning a World Cup completely differently, as will most of the women in this group. Suvi Minkinen's done that. We've seen that happen just since the start of the season for bib number 50 there. Minkinen 5th again. Look at she just continues to deliver, and this is the opportunity for everybody in the top 3. Tannheimer in there as well today in the top 10. But Todorova in 3rd. She'll completely have a different outlook on the future of her biathlon career. And Ocean Michelin, we should point out, personal best for her today as well by 1.
And it is the French who have already burst into a rendition of the national anthem, even before anyone stood atop the podium. And Chad, you mentioned Suvi Minkinen. That's the goal, I think, for a lot of these young athletes. I know Suvi Minkinen now turning 30, but she's certainly having a breakout season, is looking towards that consistency, and the way that she's able to maintain her position in the overall total score. She's now climbed up to 5th, and that's just purely because of that consistency that she's shown through the first trimester and now into 2025.
Absolutely, consistency is it's everything about this sport. Minkinen has been consistent, and that confidence that she's feeling in that consistency is actually trickling down to the athletes on her team. You look, her teammate Leinamo in the top 10 today as well, in 8th spot, shooting clean. That doesn't happen for a team like Finland unless somebody's doing well.
Well, you wonder whether there's been a slight problem with the tannoy, as I think the athletes were waiting to be announced up onto the podium. But a historic podium, a first podium for Todorova of Bulgaria, and a first podium for Bulgaria in over 2 decades. Malenka Kaida, also a first podium for her. She came into good form. Le Grand Bonnard has continued it well, taking 2nd spot today. A huge boost, this result, for the Norwegian team and the Norwegian faithful who travel around Europe and, of course, over into North America in their masses to follow their team. And the tannoy roars up again to announce the first victory, a first career victory for Paula Botet, leading the way in the IBU Cup, given the nod for the World Cup here in Oberhof, and she starts 2025 in spectacular fashion. Her first finish within the top 20, and it's top spot that she takes today with clean shooting.
Completely unexpected, all 3 of these athletes, but they all have signs that they could be here. Todorova, 3-time World Junior Championship medalist from 5 seasons ago. It took her 5 years to get to this point, and that's just the maturity rate of this sport.
And that has made the French fans very, very happy indeed.
The lone big star of the sport, finishing 4th today, Justine Bryce-Aboucher, off of 3 missed shots and blistering skiing. So we'll have to watch for her in the pursuit. She's the only athlete in the top 20 with 3 penalties.
Yeah, the winner here last year at the World Cup, having to settle just off the podium today. Well, as Chad rightly says, 3 penalties and an incredible skiing performance in tough conditions as well to make the ground back up. Ocean Michelon with 2 thumbs up to the camera. And between the 2 French women just off the podium is Suvi Minkkinen, who continues her season in really strong, consistent form.
Minkkinen sitting in the top 6 coming into this season right now. Looking at the updated World Cup standings, she has moved up to 5th now. Preuss still leading, Jean Monod 2nd, Oberg 3rd, tops to 3rd, and Julia Simone stays at 4th, and Suvi Minkkinen moves up to 5th.
Well, not an unfamiliar sight. The French faithful celebrating good performances here in Oberhof. And we will be back once again tomorrow at the same time of 2:20 Central European time for the men's 10-kilometre sprint, with the pursuits and the relays to follow at the weekend.